Hi, it's Kirby Sommers, and I welcome you to the Epstein Project podcast. This is an impromptu podcast. I've been tweeting, as you guys know, and I've just been overcome with emotion seeing how many of you have basically been here day after day, standing up for what's right and showing your support, your love, everything. For this cause and helping to give Virginia Giuffre, who, in my opinion, is probably one of the bravest people I've encountered in my entire life, who is fighting the world's most powerful people. She's taken them on. And so far, she is winning. And frankly, she's, in my opinion, won. You guys are amazing. You show up. You show up with your heart. You already know how to spot trolls. It's amazing. I hear from you, and you're like, yeah, this guy was saying something bad about Virginia, or this guy was saying something bad about you. And I figured out that this was a troll because if you're really for the cause, you're going to do X, Y, and Z. And so, like, you guys have become so incredibly informed. I'm just like, I'm, I don't know what to say. You guys, I'm just filled with admiration for you, um, love for you. Many of you I tweet with on a regular basis. Some of you show up when you have time. You are incredible. I've not ever witnessed a group of people who, in some cases, you too are carrying uh, your scars. Some of you were abused as children. Some of you are also Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's victims. Some of you have been abused by someone else in their group, as I have been. But we're in this together. And yes, it is true. There are some bad apples watching what we do. Um, but it's going great as far as the energy and the enthusiasm and the fact that we're all rooting for the Epstein victims to finally get justice. And justice at this moment in time, on Sunday, August 29th, one day before the expiration of the 21 days given to Prince Andrew to respond to the lawsuit that Virginia Giuffre filed, um, is astounding. So let me just go over that lawsuit again, just briefly. It is my understanding that Virginia's attorney, David Boies, was able to get the court to give him permission to serve him the document, meaning the lawsuit, electronically, which means he received it when it was sent, which would have been August the 9th. From the time that Prince Andrew accepted this, in New York, we have something called calendar days or weekdays. So let's say that when a document states from a court of law in the state of New York, a document states you have 21 days to respond. Typically, that means a calendar day. A calendar day includes Saturday and Sunday. If it were not a calendar day, it would say weekday, meaning that only Monday through Friday is counted and Saturday and Sunday are not. In this case, it is my understanding that Prince Andrew had 21 calendar days, meaning that on August 30th, that is day 21. All right, so typically in a civil lawsuit, first the attorney has to figure out if it's worth suing, if there's actually a basis to sue. And as most of you know, David Boies has been working with Virginia Giuffre and other victims for a long time. And so, he was not going to file a lawsuit against Prince Andrew in this instance if he did not think that there was something uh, of substance there. On top of it, Virginia has such strong proof. She has the photograph with Prince Andrew, and his team is just he's I don't know, he can afford the best public relations people. However, his team is full of buffoons. I'm sorry to use that word because it's not a very well, it's not a nice word, and I try to be nice in my response to people, but it just seems very foolish that some of his people have come out and said, well, no, those fingers around Virginia's waist in that photograph are either too fat or too thin or too this or too that or the and so it cannot be a real photograph. Well, it's a real photograph, and who do we have in the photograph? We have Ghislaine Maxwell, who is the person who procured Virginia to begin with. On top of this, the time frame is correct, right? So we have Virginia, who was noted to be on the flight with Prince Andrew on the 727, which was known to these horrific people as the Lolita Express. So that Virginia has everything well documented. She also won the lawsuit, and I say she won because against Ghislaine Maxwell, that it was a defamation lawsuit. She won because after a while, Ghislaine Maxwell just gave up and said, "Hey, I'm settling," and she did. And as I said in the previous podcast, and I have said in my tweets, she had to sell her multi-million-dollar townhome in New York City in order to pay Virginia, who won, and it was determined that Virginia was supposed to get a certain amount of money. It is supposed to be an undisclosed amount, but in order to do so, Ghislaine Maxwell had to pay. So that Prince Andrew, typically, all right, so then there's the initial part is the attorney tries to determine whether or not there's a lawsuit to be made based on the factors that were presented just now by me. This attorney, David Boies, decided, yes, you have a lawsuit. And then the second thing is the attorney goes through court documents, through all kinds of reports, through eyewitness accounts. So he has, before he filed the lawsuit, he spoke to other eyewitnesses. Remember, there were other girls and women in Jeffrey Epstein's home when this was happening, when Virginia was with Prince Andrew. During the BBC interview that Prince Andrew had in November of 2019, he said that he never met Virginia, that he does not remember her, he never met her. Well, guess what? There are people, other girls and women who were in Jeffrey Epstein's home when Prince Andrew, was there and Virginia was there. So right away, right off the bat, he's not going to ever be able to disprove that because there are people willing to testify. So then in this particular case, David Boies attempted for 5 years to get Prince Andrew to just talk to him. Let's talk this out. We don't have to file a lawsuit. Because filing a lawsuit against somebody like a prince, the Prince of the UK, the son of Queen Elizabeth, is going to make the news. It's going to be around forever. This is not something they can go around and scrub off the internet like they have done with almost everything else. So many things have been scrubbed off the internet. This will stick around in people's memory for 100 years, if not longer. So that for him to have been so careless to allow his I don't know. I mean, his arrogance, his stupidity, his being so naive, his believing that because he was born to a woman who was a reigning monarch, that he would escape everything and anything, so that he decided he would not respond during those 5 years. Well, he was given 5 years, and at the end of the lawsuit was was filled out in a court of law legally. It was presented to him legally. He was given 21 days to respond. We haven't heard from either David Boys or from anybody on Prince Andrew's side. But here's what's been happening. And those of us on Twitter know this to be true. Um, Behind the scenes, Prince Andrew has hired public relations firms, and I say that in a light way, and they're trolls. And so one story did break a few months ago. If you guys remember, it was Prince Andrew's people who had sort of contacted a woman who uh, wanted to follow the story, wanted to sort of be on Virginia's side, on the side of the Epstein victims. Her name was Molly Brown, and when didn't get the attention that she wanted to get, and I still don't understand it to this day. She decided she would become nasty, and say things that were cruel to Virginia. I remember telling her, hey, if you don't delete these tweets, I'm going to have to block you. She did not delete the tweets. I blocked her. She ran off, and she started just saying things that she had no knowledge of. And basically, what she was saying was that the photograph of Virginia with Prince Andrew was not a real one. Well, this woman came from out of nowhere. However, Prince Andrew's paid trolls, his PR people who are paid trolls, decided to go and speak with Molly, who it knew nothing from nowhere. She doesn't know Virginia. She didn't know anybody. And asked her to sort of like, go on their side, and I guess join forces and troll some more, and maybe continue to say that the photo was not real, so that Prince Andrew can get out of this predicament that he's in, that he fully deserves to be in this predicament if he hung around with somebody like Jeffrey Epstein, the world's most prolific child trafficker, and Ghislaine Maxwell, who is currently sitting in jail because she too is facing charges of trafficking and raping victims. So that there is we know that Prince Andrew behind the scenes is trying to fight this in a cowardly way, so cowardly. Um, One doesn't do that. Either step forward and do what you have to do and do it like a man, but he has shown time and time and time again that he cannot behave like an adult. He does this as if he were a school child. He hires public relations people who behave like bullies, who go around and say, oh, there's one who basically says, hey, I can't talk about Virginia online, but I will send you a 60-page dossier on Virginia, and I will send you a 20-page dossier on Kirby, and I'm going to show you how fake they are. Well, we now, the whole world knows that they're trolls. Everybody has smoked you guys out. So at this point, um, there is really very little left for Prince Andrew to do, because nobody believes his paid trolls and nobody believes you. So once you are served and you do not respond, and in some cases the law permits someone to say, hey, 21 days is not enough. I need another X number of days, and the court, as well as the attorney on the other side, will say, yes, of course, you may have additional time. But we have not heard that happening in this case. So that if he has not responded, the case does begin on September 13th. That is when it is scheduled on the calendar. It will begin with or without Prince Andrew. If he decides to uh, be part of this, the initial part means that there's going to be some written questions, so he doesn't have to appear in court. There are some written questions that he does have to answer. Afterwards, there is an oral deposition, and that could take place either in the UK or in the United States. And then, if there is to be a trial, there are going to be not just witnesses, but expert witnesses also. And each side has to present their case. Now, the burden of proof is on the person who files the lawsuit. So in this case, Virginia has to prove without a shadow of a doubt that what she has claimed is true. She is prepared to do that. Prince Andrew appears to be afraid that Virginia can do that, and because she can, which is the only reason I think that he has ignored her to date and has allowed this to grow to such a proportion that, quite frankly, it has helped Virginia, because now the whole world has heard about the lawsuit against Prince Andrew. The whole world is aware about some of his shady dealings, how he sold his house that was given to him when he married Fergie by Queen Elizabeth. He sold it to a money launderer. He sold it for more than it was worth. It, the world is beginning to know things about Prince Andrew that no one would have known if he had just responded in a normal time frame. But in any event, so this is it, the day before the last day that he's supposed to respond, and we're all anxiously awaiting the next step. Um, as far as Ghislaine Maxwell, her case is scheduled to begin in November. I believe it's the second week of November. She is trying again through her attorneys to have this postponed into the beginning of the next year, meaning 2022. However, she complains about every single thing in court. So why she wants to keep postponing this, if she were truly, quote, innocent, end quote, is baffling. But these people, they're baffling anyway. So I thought I would just say this today. Again, I didn't plan to do a podcast, but you guys are incredible, and I wanted to thank you for your energy and your support, and for being on the right side of history, and for knowing how to spot trolls. It's just great. So let's just keep hoping that um, more people are exposed. That Because what's happening is we're kind of making this a better world, right? Predators can't hide forever anymore. Everybody is talking about what's happened to you personally, what's happened to your friends. It's all coming out in the open. And this is like a watershed moment in history, and we're part of it. It's just so exciting. All right, I'm going to let you get back to Sunday. Have a good day. Thanks. It's Kirby Sommers for the Epstein Project podcast. Bye.